responsibility for undermining our shared values, our shared humanity, our shared future, and our global rules-based order lies not just with Israel, not even privately with Israel. It lies with Israel's allies, Israel's partners, sponsors. They are the ones. They are the ones who are training their responsibilities and obligations under international law. They are the ones who are shielding Israel from legal consequences. Support to occupation, stop support to colonization, to besiegement, to apartheid, to genocide. We know the steps, my friends. We know the steps. And these steps are simple. Stop arming Israel! Stop arming Israel! Stop arming Israel! Impose sanctions! Sanctions now! Sanctions now! Sanctions now! Recognize the state of Palestine! Recognize the state of Palestine! Recognize now! Immediately! My friends, ending genocide is only the first step of a journey that must end with the liberation of Palestine. Indeed, the only way to save our shared values, our shared humanity, our shared future, and our common rule forward is to liberate Palestine and to secure, achieve the Palestinian people's right to self-determination, to return our homes and lives, to return our dignity and security. Allow me here, please, to say to you and all of our friends, brothers and sisters here, and to the Lebanese people, a message of love, a message of kinship, a message of gratitude to our Lebanese brothers and sisters who have suffered too much, too long. Ceasefire are always welcome, but our region will not see, the world will not see the lasting peace and stability until Israeli impunity ends. And let me assure you, my friends, I want to end by this assurance. Our people, our courageous journalists, our tireless doctors, like Dr. Hassan al-Musafir, who justified his son, Ibrahim, and went straight to our heroes, Islamic children of Palestine, who, because
end ceasefire. We need immediate arms and training for them, including parts of the F-35 bomber. The UK backed apartheid regime in South Africa, but that regime was brought down to its knees because of international solidarity. Direct action and protest do work. We did it once, we can do it again, but we have to keep going for it. We need to keep the pressure up. We need to stand shoulder to shoulder with our Palestinian coverage until we see free Palestine. Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Solidarity coverage!
Doctor who is a specialist in plastic surgery. He has recently returned from Gaza where he was one of the longest-serving doctors and where his expertise played a crucial role in providing life-saving care. So please give a very warm welcome to Dr. Ahmed Mohamed.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the welcoming. I will start with saying something. When we were in the middle of the war in Gaza, in the hospital, in the patient, and surviving or trying to survive the genocide there, I would say something. This kind of protesting march and the solidarity we see for the people in Gaza, it means a lot to all of us. It means that everyone is helping to fundamentally change the world. Fundamentally tell everyone it's no more the democratic state in the Middle East. It's a genocide, it's a brutal aggression, it's unfairness which has been spread all over the place. Everyone now can see the amount of really aggressive war crimes happening in Gaza. So thanks to everyone trying to play this role in their part. I know everyone might have to sacrifice something, you pay a price to be part of this, but this is what we need in Gaza. We need to tell everyone that the people in Gaza are living a very horrifying, terrifying genocide. So this means a lot to us. The second thing, I would say about the health system, we have real heroes of medical doctors, surgeons, who just taught the whole world what does it mean being a doctor in a workplace. It's not like going there and taking some photos. It's working under the most difficult circumstances in the hospitals, treating the patients, treating the injured people while knowing that the tanks are there in the door. Not leaving the hospital but treating your patients. It happened with many people. Hundreds of them were killed because they wanted to stay with their patients. But again, we don't know what does it mean being a surgeon, being a doctor in a war time. It means a lot how to survive the genocide by surviving this and supporting the health system. They tried to kill everyone. They tried to kill the people of Gaza. They tried to collapse the whole health system. They targeted the hospitals, the medical workers. The safe hospitals tend to be the most dangerous places. The doctors, nurses used to be somewhat well respected even in the humanitarian world, in the wartime humanitarian world. They became targets of their own. But I will tell you something. 36 hospitals in Gaza were targeted, fully attacked, and were out of service at one point. Now we are rebuilding the system again. Every hospital we try to rebuild, reoperate. And I can tell you now, the health system is working now again. Maybe with a lot of shortages, limitations, but we managed to get the Ministry of Health to lead the health care services in Gaza. We still try to survive. We started already rebuilding the health system. So this genocide, the way they started to do it is by killing everyone, stopping the education. We have people going to schools now. We have the medical students receiving their treatment, their education fully. And I will tell you something. There was an initiative called GEM for the medical students where professors and doctors from all over the world managed to give them their education, and they finished their first trimester in the middle of this war. And we are expecting a batch of them to graduate in February. In the middle of this thing, there is a lot of hope. We are still in Gaza. We will never let the health system collapse. We are surviving, we are rebuilding it, we are providing as much as we can of care to our patients. And let me end it with something. As history has shown us, these acts of genocide, ethnic cleansing, and the brutal aggression do not sustain an occupation. It's actually the amount of power they use, the amount of forces used is less effective and it's coming more. And it shows us that the end of this occupation is becoming very near. I'm sure we will see the day. I'm sure this aggressive force will definitely show us the end of this occupation rather than this longevity. We all see it in Gaza, from the kids to everyone, and we are sure about it. Thank you very much.
Free, free! Free, free! From the river to the sea! From the sea to the river! I'm very pleased to say that our first numbers estimate. We are estimating 125,000 people on the streets of London, standing up for Palestine, calling for a ceasefire, and for our government to stop selling arms to Israel. I'm very pleased to introduce our next speaker. He's representing Stop the War, one of the co-organisers of today's rally. So please give a warm welcome to Andrew Murray.
Thank you. Now I'd like to start by asking all of you here a question. If you have a son or a daughter, a grandchild, a sibling, or simply a child you love in primary school, please put up your hand. Now I want you all to think not just about that child, but about the class that he or she is in. That child and all his or her friends and comrades. Now think that a class exactly like that of Palestinian children has been annihilated by the Israelis, not once, not half a dozen times, which would be crime enough, but every day, every single day for the last 13 months, it is a crime for the ages. And if there are not enough tears in the world for those dead children, there are at least some words. And the first must be that whether it is tomorrow, or next week, or next year, or 10 years' time, Netanyahu and his gang of criminals will be held to account for this slaughter. And the next thing to say, brothers and sisters, is nearer to home. We have to say to Keir Starmer and David Lammy, this is on you. You have armed, supported and protected the killing of these children. May their faces haunt your dreams. Because look at the whole gang of them. Keir Starmer, he will not pay to get more than 4 million British children out of poverty, but it will spend whatever is needed to support Israel in its war. David Lammy, he says there are no journalists in Gaza. Well, that is because you're meant to kill them all, Mr. Lammy. And John Healey, the Defence Secretary, has purportedly said, we can't stop selling F-35 parts to Israel because it would upset the Americans. And there it is. This Labour government has learned nothing from the time of Tony Blair. Given a choice between international law, morality, common decency on the one hand, and Washington and war on the other, they always come down on the side of war. And what world has that made? Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Yemen, Palestine. This century is choking on the blood of the walls of the British state. And now, Genocide Joe, with Stalin at his side, wants to escalate in the Ukraine, get another war going, blow us all to forever. And don't let anyone tell you that the politicians who support genocide, who deny human rights, who oppress the Palestinians in the Middle East, are somehow the good guys in Europe. They are not. They are war criminals. We have to stop them. And brothers and sisters, there is so much we can do to support the Palestinians. End the arms sales, impose a trade embargo, BDS, execute those ICC warrants against Netanyahu, recognise a Palestinian state, do all of that, take action for all of that, but also remember, our enemy is over there. We will serve the Palestinians best if we defund, disarm the British imperialism which birthed the oppression of the Palestinian people and has stood over it every day until this. Because when we do, the slaughtered children of Gaza can perhaps rest in peace, and the next generation of Palestinian children will stand in freedom. Thank you, comrades. Never forget, never forgive.
In our thousands, in our millions! In our thousands, in our millions! And in our millions, in our billions! One, we are the people. Two, three! One, two, three! Now our next speaker is here representing another of the co-organisers of today's demonstration. Here representing the Muslim Association of Britain is Mustafa Al-Zabab.
Brothers, sisters, friends, Assalamu alaikum. We stand here today, 420 days on, and nearly 45,000 murdered because we refuse to stay silent while the genocide in Gaza continues. We are here because this genocide must end. Our presence is a reminder to those complicit that Gaza is not alone and Palestine is not forgotten. Last week, the International Criminal Court issued warrants for the war criminals Netanyahu and Gallant. This is a historical moment, and we ask, where will our government stand? Will they roll out the red carpet for war criminals, or will they uphold the little that remains of international law? The people of Gaza do not need more hollow condemnations and empty words. They need an end to the siege, an end to the bombs, an end to the system that gives way to apartheid and genocide. needn't look far. The revolution in Syria shows us that those fighting for justice will never stop. Just look at how they continue to fight for freedom against a genocidal dictator and those that enable him. They show us that tyranny does not last forever. One day the people of Palestine, Syria, Yemen, Sudan, and all those fighting for freedom all over the world will walk free on their land, in their homes with dignity. That day will come, but it will not come from the empty promises of governments. It will come because of the unbreakable will of their people and the solidarity of all of us today who stand with them. We stand here today not just to protest, but to demand that our government stop funding Israel, that our leaders stop whitewashing war crimes, and that the international community stop treating Palestinian lives as disposable. When they tell us that liberation is impossible, that the future is bleak, filled with nothing more but wars, more bombings, and more dispossession, we point to countries like South Africa, who dismantled apartheid and won their freedom. Today we stand together, refusing to normalize Israeli war crimes. We demand a future where Palestinians can live freely, from Gaza to Nablus, from Jerusalem to Jenin, and we will not stop, we will not be silent, and we will not rest until we have a Palestine that is free from the river to the sea. From the river to the sea. Louder so they hear you. From the river to the sea. Thank you very much.
From the river to the sea! From the river to the sea! From the river to the sea! And from the sea to the river! From the sea to the river! From the sea to the river! Our next speaker is a prominent anti-Zionist Jewish activist, speaking today on behalf of the Jewish bloc. So please give a very warm welcome to Naomi Winborn-Idrissi.
It's a tremendous honour to speak at this great show of solidarity with the people of Palestine in London today. We, members of the Jewish bloc, join with you and every human being who cares for justice in expressing our horror and rage at the endless terror our government, hanging onto the coattails of the White House warmongers, is allowing to be inflicted on the Palestinian people. A war of extermination against men and women, teenagers and elders, children and newborn infants across Palestine and Lebanon. We are all joined in a global struggle, friends, for freedom and equality for all people, for liberation from colonial oppression, from racism and from exploitation. Because we all know, as we all know, none of us are free until all are free. That's why a call went out yesterday on the International Day of Solidarity with the people of Palestine from Global Jews for Palestine, a coming together of Jewish organizations from 18 countries on 6 continents, The call was clear. Stop arming genocide. Ceasefire now. End Israel's illegal occupation. Break economic and diplomatic ties which normalize apartheid and genocide. Arrest the war criminals. How do we make this happen? We take action. Demonstrations like this. Students occupying campuses, demanding universities scrap Israeli investments. Trade unions and activists stopping weapons supplies. Citizens boycotting Israeli goods and institutions. Courageous journalists and campaigners resisting police raids and defying censorship. We take action together. Christians, Muslims, Jews, all people of conscience. We stand up to the right-wing racists seeking to divide us, spreading hate, calling protesters demanding peace and justice, anti-Semites and terrorists. We say, no more of this, it must end. Free Palestine!
In our thousands, in our millions. 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 Our next speaker is a British Palestinian from Gaza, speaking on behalf of all of those who have lost family members in Gaza. So please give a warm welcome to Ibrahim Hadra.
Thank you. Let's correct everyone. When I say they call it war, we call it what? Genocide. Okay? During my speech I'll repeat this. They call it war. We call it? For more than a year, we have marched through this street, hundreds of thousands of us, millions of steps, endless chants and speeches. Some might wonder, why do we keep going? Why you keep coming here to this one? Why? Why? If we ask why you just keep coming every Saturday, keep going, keep marching? Why do we keep shouting when governments refuse to listen? The answer is simple. Because we refuse to be silent while Gaza burning. Why? Because every step we take keeps Gaza's voice alive in a war trying to silence it. They call it war, we call it. They call it war, we call it genocide. As a journalist myself, I want to speak about the incredible courage of Palestinian journalists. There are people who risk their lives to document the truth. Yet, we have heard outrageous claims like British Foreign Minister David Lammy saying there are no journalists in Gaza. David Lammy said that there are no journalists in Gaza. To him and everyone spreading such lies, let me say this. There are journalists in Gaza, brave, resilient, hard-working journalists who capture stories the world would never see without them. Many of them have been killed during their job. Their cameras are their weapons. Their words are their resistance. It's our duty, ladies and gentlemen, it's our duty to amplify their voices, to protect their work, and to ensure their sacrifice never forgiven. They call it war, we call it. I'd like to encourage everyone here to write about Palestine, to write about what's going on at the moment. Every writer, not just in social media, write as much as you can. To write about Palestinians, families and friends, to share the untold struggle, because it's important for the upcoming generations, because knowledge is power, and when we share the truth, we make it harder for lies to prevail. They call it war, we call it for Gaza, for justice, for Palestine, for Lebanon, for humanity. We will stand, we will speak, and we will never give up. Free, 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 free. They call it war, we call it. Thank you.
Before we move on to our next speaker, I need to announce that there is a 6-year-old child who is lost. We're asking for their parents to please come to the stage. So the child is here at the stage. So if you're the parents of a 6-year-old child who is missing, please make your way to the left-hand side of the stage. I would also like to announce that there is a new update. We now estimate that there are 150,000 people on the march. Put your flags in the air! Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Now our next speaker is here representing Friends of Al-Aqsa, the co-organisers of today's demonstration. So please give a very warm welcome to Ishmael Patel.
Assalamu alaikum. Friends, from the beginning we have maintained that the Israeli attack on Gaza has more to do with colonization than self-defense. Besides bombs, bullets, Israel is using starvation as a weapon of genocide against the Palestinians. Israel has blocked the entry of 83% of food aid into Gaza over the last year. 90% of children in Gaza lack the nutrition they need. As we speak, children in Gaza are dying of malnutrition and dehydration. The inhumanity of the Israelis does not stop there. It is worse. Israel is now using the few aid trucks getting into Gaza as bait to kill the Palestinians. On one occasion, as the starving Palestinians rushed towards the truck with flour, Israel opened fire and killed 100 Palestinians and injured 700 others. If that was not protest enough, after firing, Israeli tanks advanced and ran over many of the dead and injured bodies. What Israel is doing in Gaza is not just a tragedy, it is a crime against humanity and a genocide. But allowing Israel with its genocide is also a failure of our collective humanity. And the genocide in Gaza demands action. Not tomorrow, not some distant future, but now. Words are not enough. Action is the measure of our compassion. First, we must constantly lobby the government in Gaza a genocide, to immediately stop ourselves with Israel. And the British government must declare that if Netanyahu was to set foot here, we will arrest him. Second, it cannot be right for a country that is committing genocide, flagrantly undermining the UN and violating international law to be part of the UN. We must demand Israel is thrown out of the UN. It cannot be right for Israel that has destroyed all education institutes all around the world and public education. We must boycott and campaign Israel is thrown out of all education institutes. It cannot be right for Israel, why it is destroying sporting facilities, to be part of FIFA and UEFA. We must work to throw out Israel of all sporting activities. We must work and turn out every institute and centers to make sure whether Israeli businesses, whether Israeli sports people, whether Israeli artists, to boycott them and make sure they don't carry on with their activities in this country or around the world. Let us stand together as a community, united by our shared humanity, and vow to protect the Palestinians and Palestine. Because if we cannot save the Palestinians from the horrors of Israeli genocide, we will have failed in protecting our own humanity. Our protests, campaigning, lobbying is a declaration that we will not be mental slaves, nor are we going to be corrupted with their inhumanity. Friends, working to free Palestine is also freeing ourselves. So let's get together and free. Thank you very much.
Okay, I want everyone to repeat after me. We want justice. We want action. We want boycott. We want sanctions. We want justice. We want action. We want boycott. We want sanctions. Our next speaker is here representing the Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament, one of the co-organisers of today's protest. Please give a warm welcome to Roger Mackenzie.
Thank you, comrades. Let me tell you something about these lying, genocidal, self-appointed masters of the universe who have killed so many people across Gaza, across the West Bank, and across Lebanon. They are the same people, the exact same people who have us on the verge of a nuclear war right now. The very same people who are providing the weapons that are killing millions and millions of people, who are preventing us from living in peace. That's why we have called an emergency demonstration, an emergency protest in this place next week, December the 7th, right here, to protest about what's going on, to protest the way that these people who have no regard for human lives have us on the verge of this nuclear war because of their actions in Ukraine. We have to make the links. We have to understand that these people have a plan. And that plan is for us to die on their behalf. We have to stand up and say no. We have to stand up and say this really clearly. If you continue down this road, we will remove the lot of you. Those people in there, be very loud and be very clear about what we are telling them. You continue to treat human lives as just something you've scraped off the bottom of your shoe. We will remove you. We will organise against you and we will remove you. Come on, be here next week. Will you be here next week? Will you be here next week? Stand up, go out into your communities, organising this build even bigger and stronger movement for peace across the world. Thank you very much.
Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! In our thousands, in our millions! In our thousands, in our millions! Now our next speaker is an actress who has consistently and fearlessly used her profile and her voice to stand up for the Palestinian people. Please, please give a very warm welcome to Juliet Stevenson!
I'm here today as an actor. The tools of my job are words. Words are all I have, and I need to use them to speak out. I've always wanted to make work that spoke to the times that we live in. And in all my life, the times have never been as terrifyingly dystopian as they are now. The Palestinian people are being relentlessly and brutally assaulted while the world looks away or tries to rationalize it. I don't need to list the horrors of the assault. We watch them daily on our screens. But alongside the rockets and the bombs, we have also witnessed an assault on the truth, on the story being told to justify the unjustifiable. And in this distorted narrative, the Palestinian people are dehumanized. Images of human suffering in Gaza that in any other part of the world would induce sympathy and would see governments rushing to deliver aid and mediation is somehow portrayed as inevitable, a catastrophe they have brought upon themselves. And the children, dead, wounded, sick, orphaned or starving, are collateral damage. Shame. As artists, we cannot remain silent in the face of such gross violations. Violations of human rights and of international law, violations of the truth and of every human instinct. The propaganda campaign that has been imposed on all of us has spread everywhere, has been skillfully managed, and has become very effective in its threats to punish and disempower those who speak out. In my own sector, the silence of many arts and cultural institutions has been deafening. Those arts organizations that rightly hung Ukrainian flags over their doors have closed those same doors to the Palestinian voice. Cancelling film festivals, music gigs, book events, shutting down galleries and theatre performances if they in any way speak to the Palestinian cause. The very arts organisations that would fight for the right for freedom of expression, a freedom on which we crucially depend, are sitting back and watching that freedom be eroded. So I want to call on those cultural institutions and on all our public spaces to uphold that freedom of expression, to defend the right to speak and to protest. I urge them to reject politically motivated attempts to silence and to censor. What is the point of art if not to address the great moral issues of our time? What is the value of art if it is not to invite us all to recognize our shared humanity and to license us to feel beyond the narrow boundaries of our own individual lives? So to my community, I say, now is the time to speak out. If you have a platform, use it. If you have a profile, use it. Because to stay neutral in situations of injustice is to endorse that injustice. And to to enable it. To say nothing is to support a status quo that is complicit in the massacre of the Palestinian people. There are many individuals in the grassroots and within the mainstream who are doing incredible and urgent protest work. This last year, in the face of the failure of moral leadership from governments across the world, we've seen that moral leadership rising up from the grassroots. I want to pay tribute to those people and those organizations. This movement is powerful, and it connects across geography and borders in its commitment to justice for the Palestinians. We need this movement to grow. I want to call to our arts communities across the country, come and join us. Let's work together to dissolve the divisions, to reject the lethal rhetoric of politicians and arms traders. Let's use the tools that we have to speak truth to power. It can be frightening as an individual to speak up. We are told it is dangerous to do so. But let's never be afraid to raise our voices for compassion. There is safety and support in numbers, and huge potential if we come together. There is strength and comfort in community. So let us not be bullied into silence or shut down. Let's not rest until a ceasefire is achieved. Let's not rest until international humanitarian law is reinstated. And let's not rest until the world recognizes that a Palestinian life is as miraculous and precious as every other human life on this planet. Free Palestine!
Once again, give it up for Juliet Stevenson! In on thousands, in on millions! In on thousands, in on millions! In on thousands, in on millions! And in on millions and on billions! In on millions and on billions! Our next speaker is a Scottish-Egyptian actor and activist, who you will all know for his starring role in The Kite Runner and in The Crown. Please give a very warm welcome to Khalid Abdullah.
Thank you. As I stand here today, looking out at the world, I ask myself, how can this be real? How can this be the world we are living in? All of you here are beacons of hope in this darkness. Here you stand, embodied with the fullness of your voice in a world that demands that we are always in motion, numb to the reality that enters our lives through our phones and the images that come to us day after day of this genocide in Gaza. If you're anything like me, you'll have gone through stages of looking and then looking away, churning through feelings of helplessness and breaking down when there's nothing else. Somehow, over 14 months, these images have become genres, possible to categorize as the reality repeats itself. More lifeless babies pulled out from the rubble, more children waking up to a world in which they have been orphaned, recognizing no one. More children running after their bleeding parents or hugging their graves. More mothers and fathers wailing over the bodies of their children. More aid trucks joyously held back. More hospitals evacuated or bombed. More schools used as shelters turned into the sites of massacres. More bodies burning alive. More body parts thrown into black bags. and then weighed to approximate a human being. How can it be that after 14 months we are still here? As I stand here, I am reminded of the words of my friend Alaa Abdel Fattah, who I'm sure many of you will have been following, is unjustly held in prison in Egypt. A British Egyptian citizen, his mother now on 62 days of hunger strike, yet again being failed by our government. These are words from his book, You Have Not Yet Been Defeated. They will not eject you from history as long as you can still speak. They will not banish you to the past as long as you can still listen. But which present do you inhabit? Haunt the dreams of your comrades and the nightmares of your enemies. Live in a future that never came. Be a spectre and a herald. Remind them that the current state was not inevitable until it came to be. Do not occupy yourself with the question of why this very possible future failed. Leave the victorious to grope for answers. Be the question and do not heed your impotence. A ghost has no need for material presence or action. You just need to shiver. And so as I look at you all, shimmering amidst these nightmares and this upside down world, where the heralds of a better world are in prison, and the greatest war criminal on earth, Benjamin Netanyahu, is applauded in Congress, still being sent weapons by governments around the world, including our own. Where do you go? You go to the future that you know will come, and you live for it in the present. You insist on justice in the knowledge that it is the only path for peace. You find the people who will walk that path with you. You work together, and each day you ask yourself, where does this genocide in Gaza live in me? Where does the occupation in Palestine live in me? If I am silent, how can I call myself free? Because after 14 months, what words are left? The reality has been laid threadbare. There is no number, there is no statistic left for someone to say, oh really? If only I'd known that, I would have responded differently. The world knows. And so this is the world we have to change. And what can we say to it? Because yes, I believe we do have to listen to those who are still scared to speak up, but who know what this is, and find out what it is that is holding them back. For in it is the key to all our futures. They are still welcome. And so I will end on a poem that I wrote as I tried to find my way to these words I have spoken today. Last night, I had a dream that I saw the children of this genocide. They appeared not to me, but to everyone. They were neither above us nor below us, and all they wanted was to hold our hand. There were those of us who let our hands be held, and there are those of us who wouldn't. Somehow they all had dared to hope that anyone would take our hand, as any child would, yearning for safety. But orphaned in death, They have been abandoned once again by the living who haunt this world, some part of them already dead or deadened. And the surprise in those children's eyes was searing. A look that contained legacies. For they had spoken to the children of the Herero and Nama and Namibia, to the children of the Armenians. They had spoken to the children of Srebrenica, Rwanda and Cambodia. And they had spoken to the children of the Holocaust. All of whom had told them that never again is now and always, even when it fails the living. Which is why, with each genocide and this one in Palestine, they held out their hand to each other in the hope that someday they would reach the living who had chosen to die a different death. For in that hand that is always reaching out, the hand of the children of genocide, is life, is freedom, is justice. Surely you see that. Shiver. Thank you. Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Thank you very much.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Our next speaker has consistently supported the rights of the Palestinian people. He is the member of Parliament for Middlesbrough and Golden East. Please, please give a very warm welcome to Andy MacDonald.
Sisters and brothers, yesterday was the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people. And yet we are here, yet again, with yet more Palestinian civilians, each day being pulled from the rubble of their refugee camps. The occupation of the West Bank and the invasion and the siege of Gaza has long since been deemed unlawful by the UN General Assembly and in the past year by the International Court of Justice. The ICJ has also said with crystal clear clarity that the Palestinians have the right to protection from genocide from Israel's attack on Gaza. And the ICC has issued an arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu for war crimes and crimes against humanity. My friends, the world must uphold international law, including the arrest warrant. No ifs, no buts, no exceptions. It is clear, beyond any doubt, that Israel has committed the war crimes of displacement under Article 49 of the Geneva Convention, is in breach of the Genocide Convention, and is guilty of the crime of apartheid. International law demands that those nations who purport to uphold those very laws take positive and concrete actions and steps to uphold them. They must do so now. Expressions of concern won't cut it. The situation of the Palestinian people face mean it is more necessary than ever to demonstrate solidarity, which is why we call today for a ceasefire, an end to the arms sales, and the sanctions on Israel, and to continue our demand for the recognition of the Palestinian state. Yesterday, in our parliament, a few hundred yards away, we debated how to assist people to die. That was conducted with great respect and empathy for our fellow human beings. But brothers and sisters, Palestinians look to the world for assisted living and protection from murder and from extermination. The demand is simple. They want to live in peaceful liberty. We today recommit our solidarity and say in one voice, in our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians. Thank you.
Thank you. When I say stop bombing Gaza, you say stop arming Israel. Stop bombing Gaza! 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 Our next speaker is a man who needs no introduction. A lifelong anti-apartheid campaigner and the independent MP for the People's Republic of Islington North. Please give a very warm welcome to the People's Prime Minister, Jeremy Corbyn!
Thank you, and thank you everyone for being here today, and thank you to all those that have organised it and made sure that the voice of peace and justice for the Palestinian people will always be heard here in London. I'm going to say something slightly different today. I've been given a message from Dr. Bassam Abouzidia, the director of Kamal Adwan Hospital in northern Gaza. He was working in his hospital, and he has been all the way through the horrors of this conflict. Was seized by the Israeli forces, taken into Israel, tortured and beaten in the prison, and then thrown out of prison, and came back to his hospital. As he re-entered the hospital, the Israeli Defense Force came in with him and smashed equipment as he walked through his own hospital. Smashed life-saving equipment and did as much damage as they possibly could. He was then ready to start work again in his work for the people of Gaza. And then his son was killed. And they buried his son in the land just alongside the hospital. His daughters were very, very badly injured. And he is now still there, doing all he can to provide medical aid to the people of northern Gaza, who are, according to the UN, and I believe them, in famine-like conditions, as they continue to be bombarded as the Israeli forces attempt to drive them out of northern Gaza into southern Gaza, and I believe across the border into Egypt, remove the entire population and set up a new Gaza Strip in the Sinai Desert. Dr. Bassam has asked that this message be read out, and I've been given it today by Palestinian medics working in the health service in Britain, doing all they can to support their colleagues in Palestine. So can we just have a round of applause for Palestinian medics? And all the work they do in the most possible circumstances. message reads like this. The truth is, this is a war of extermination. There are no longer any laws. In fact, all their laws are imaginary. Our medical humanitarian mission is continually being attacked and destroyed in plain sight for the whole world, and not a single voice is spoken out. This is not including the humiliation and arbitrary detention and persecution of healthcare workers. They are hitting us with everything and on all fronts, just for the sake of the politics of destruction. There are no tools or resources for us to protect and to serve, because what has happened yesterday and the day before that, and what will continue to happen, is that this entity will continue to do what it wants, because no one is standing up for humanitarianism and the human rights of civilians. The targeting of our healthcare system is purposeful and relentless in order to make us submit and to tell the world that we wanted to surrender. However, they don't realize that we would die here in order to continue to serve our medical duty. Because our message is one of humanitarianism, one that everyone in North Gaza has a right to. We have sent our humanitarian message to the world. So long as there are civilians in North Gaza, we will continue to provide our humanitarian service. We will continue to serve, even to the very minimum. If only the world knew that with all those democratic and humanitarian structures, we are being exterminated. Please spread the message widely. Before I conclude, in the last few days, our civilians have been calling us, along with their children, from under the rubble. We are powerless to help them. They have now gone silent. That's a message from northern Gaza about what the people of northern Gaza are going through. Words are hard to express in this horrific situation when this country is supplying weapons to a government in Israel whose Prime Minister, if he wasn't Prime Minister, would be arrested and put in prison in Israel. If he leaves Israel to go anywhere in the world except for one or two countries, he would face an international arrest warrant. And I say to our government, if you knowingly supply weapons of mass destruction to a government headed by somebody who's wanted for international war crimes, it could well be that the long arm of the international war crimes issue will extend to you as well. So it is time for us to say quite clearly, we will end that arms supply. There's a wonderful placard just in front of me here, perhaps you can see it, but I can. It's a beautiful placard with a white kite in front of the poem. While I must die, we must live. I want to conclude what I have to say today by reading part of a poem by Zainab Nazam. It's been given to me this afternoon by Susanna Corro. Susanna's here today with a group of people who I've known for many years, who always campaigned for peace and for justice and the rights of the Chilean people. They went through the dark days of the Pinochet dictatorship, and they're repaying the solidarity we showed to them with their solidarity to the Palestinian people. Thank you for being here today. The poem by Zainab Nazam is called Write My Name. Write my name on my leg, Mama. Use the black permanent marker with the ink that doesn't bleed if it gets wet, the one that doesn't melt if it's exposed to heat. Write my name on my leg, Mama. Make the lines thick and clear, and your special flourishes, so I can take comfort in seeing my Mama's handwriting when I go to sleep. Write my name on my leg, Mama, and on the legs of my sisters and brothers. This way we will belong together. This way we'll be known as your children. Write my name on my leg, Mama, and please write your name and Baba's name on your legs too, so we shall all be remembered as a family. Write my name on my leg, Mama. When the bomb hits our house, when the walls crush and our skulls and bones, our legs will tell our story, how there was nowhere for us to run. Thank you very much.
Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Now, our next speaker is here all the way from the United States. He's an artist and an activist with our brothers and sisters in Jewish Voice for Peace in New York City. London, make some noise for Morgan Bassett!
Free, free Palestine! I am so honored to join you today as one of thousands of anti-Zionist Jews in the United States who are proud to stand in unconditional and wholehearted solidarity with the Palestinian struggle for freedom from the river to the sea. One of thousands of anti-Zionist Jews who reject Zionism as fundamentally racist and colonial ideology that has been used to legitimize massacres in the Palestinians for 76 years. We have been so moved to see hundreds of thousands of people here in the UK taking over the streets, shutting down weapons manufacturers, advancing the colonial boycott of Israel, just as others speaking of the South Africa, and defending a elite government that more than 100 years complicity in the colonization of Palestine. As Jews in the U.S., more and more every single day, we refuse to be used as a moral cover for settler colonial apartheid states. We refuse the lie that U.S. support for Israel has anything to do with Jewish safety, when we know it has everything to do with making billions of dollars for weapons manufacturers and for Wall Street and expanding Western imperial interests in the region. We will not rest. We will not rest until the U.S. stops sending any money and any weapons to Israel. London, when we say never again for anyone, we mean anyone. We mean that we must stand up every single time a population is being exterminated, is being ethnically cleansed, particularly when it is being done in our names and with our tax dollars, not in our name. Not in our name. Not in our name. And don't you dare tell us that it's complicated. Burning families alive in tents is not complicated. Bombing hospitals and schools and mosques is not complicated. Starving millions of people is not complicated. Murdering an entire generation of children is not complicated. It has a name, and that name is genocide. It has a name, and that name is colonialism.
and we will not be complicit. No matter how many times Israel claims to represent all Jews and to have a permanent ally in the United States, let's be clear. The majority of Jewish Americans, and for that matter, the majority of Americans, want the U.S. to stop sending Israel weapons now. We want funding for education and healthcare and climate, not genocide. No matter how many times Israel and its defenders manipulatively try to smear our Palestinian, our Arab, and our Muslim siblings as anti-Semites, we will continue to fight with everything we have for Palestinian freedom, and we will continue to fight the real, actual threats to Jewish safety, which is the rise of the white supremacist far right around the world. And that includes the state of Israel itself, which has done everything in its power to conflate our ancient religion with its settler colonial ideology. To our Jewish siblings here in the UK, standing for Palestinian freedom, we see you. We feel all the ways that you are saying no to the weaponization of Judaism and Jewish history and Jewish feelings in service of Israel's killing machine. Just as so many of our ancestors did when it was first introduced as a false solution to European anti-Semitism, we join you in rejecting Zionism. Wholesale, completely, without reservation. Zionism cannot be redeemed. Like every other supremacist ideology, it will require all of us to divest from it and to make it a thing of the past. Amidst all the rage and the grief and the fear of what is to come, I'm looking around at you, and I'm looking around at the millions of people of all backgrounds and faiths around the world who are rising up to stop this genocide. And I know, without a doubt, that we will never back down. That we will never look away. That we will never abandon our commitment to justice for everyone without exception. Our movement elders taught us better. The Palestinian struggle is leading the way to a future on this planet beyond genocide and fascism and colonialism, a future for all of us. Let's be very clear. Future generations will ask us, what did you do to stop Israel's genocide? What did you do when Palestinians were fighting for their freedom? We must all have our answer. Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Thank you.
Once again, give it up for Morgan! In our thousands, in our millions! 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 Our next speaker is speaking for Unison the Union, representing over 1.4 million workers in Britain. Please give a warm welcome to Liz Wheatley. In our thousands, in our millions! In our thousands, in our millions! Solidarity to everybody who's come out and marched yet again today. I'm proud that my union, Unison, stands with other trade unions and with our comrades in Palestine. We continue to call for an immediate end to the occupation, for boycott, divestment and sanctions. And of course we welcome the ICC issuing arrest warrants. It confirms that we are right. But we don't need arrest warrants to know that Netanyahu is a war criminal, to know that he's carrying out genocide, but now there's no excuse to deny it. Because every one of us who has marched, who has joined a student encampment, who has occupied, who has held a workplace day of action, is right to have done that. We are on the right side today, and we will be on the right side of history. And our movement has made a difference, but we have much more to do. We have to hold our politicians to account. We have to demand of Keir Starmer, suspend the arms trade now. Take action against the settler violence in the West Bank. End the occupation and recognise the state of Palestine. On Thursday, I joined thousands of trade unionists in the Workplace Day of Action, backed by the TUC and by my union Unison. It was the biggest one yet. I'm a council worker, and we came out of work and protested, calling for our pension to be divested from war and occupation, from the profits of death and destruction. We pay our wages into our pension funds, and we live on the proceeds when we retire. We will not live on the dirty money of death and destruction. Trade unions have a role to play in this magnificent movement, because of course we fight for a better workplace. We fight for more pay. We fight to be safe at work. But we are also part of the fight for a better world. We are part of the fight for a world of peace, a world of justice, and a world where there is a free Palestine. Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Solidarity, everyone! Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! One more time, put your flags in the air! Free, free! Free, free! Our next speaker is here representing the Palestinian Forum in Britain. They're another of the co-organisers of today's demonstration. Please make some noise for Faris Allah!
Thank you all for coming out here today. I need to start with our distinguished Foreign Minister, David Lammy, who said there are no journalists in Gaza. Who does he think he is? How dare he? This spineless careerist, a man with no morals or backbone, repeating Zionist propaganda that's been used to kill countless of Palestinian civilians, saying there are no journalists in Gaza. We stand firmly with the valiant and brave journalists who risk everything. They risk everything to show us what's going on. David Lammy is not worth the soil beneath their shoes. But what can you expect from a man who once took office, went and made a photo op? He had a photo op with the war criminal Netanyahu. Shame! Speaking of war criminals, we had a surprising victory last week. Something no one was prepared for. The ICC finally issued a referendum against Netanyahu and Palestine. This is a victory, and we must acknowledge that. We have to take a step back and think to ourselves, did the ICC do this because they wanted to? The answer is no, because the ICC
brought, we forced them to excuse those words. We tried them kicking and screaming to our justice. And while this is a great victory, the genocide is still going. It still carries on. Only yesterday, the Zionists murdered the head of the ICU at the hospital, making it even more unbearable for the Palestinians to heal and to live. So after our march today, I want all of you to go home and look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, am I doing enough? Really ask yourself, am I doing enough? If not, why not? What more do you need to see? How much more can the genocide go on? How many more hidden murders must there need to be? How many more times do we need to see parents carrying their children's remains in shopping bags? No, this is the time to use our momentum and to keep moving forward. We must renew our commitment to the struggle against the crime of crime. So if you indulge me, I'd like us to make a show of our strength, of our commitment to ending this genocide. If you follow me, carry on. I want to feel the earth shaking. I want to feel kissed over, feel the ground shake beneath his feet. I want the criminals in 10 Downing Street to know they can no longer run from justice. Continue walking, continue struggling, continue marching, and we will see a free Palestine from the river to the sea. Thank you.
Thank you. Free, free. Free, free. Free, free. Free, free. Free, free. From the river to the sea. From the river to the sea. From the river to the sea. Our next speaker is a member of the Labour Party's National Executive Committee. Please give a warm welcome to Jess Bernard.
Free, free! Free, free! I can't hear you! Free, free! Thank you. Earlier this week, I was invited to a drinks reception by Keir Starmer in number 10 Downing Street. And while every single day Palestinians are being killed and their homes destroyed, all of you have been out here using your voice to speak up for Palestine, and it was only right that I use my position to remind Keir Starmer of his role in enabling Israel to continue this genocide. I was elected to Labour's National Executive Committee to represent ordinary Labour of you, millions across Britain, are appalled by the genocide they are witnessing and the role of the UK government in supporting them. The people, we are calling for an end to the genocide. The people stand with Palestine. So that's why earlier this week I attended Downing Street with a clear message for him to see, to serve as a visual reminder that even when they are having their cozy cocktails in number 10, we will not let them forget their complicity. We will not forget Palestine. So repeat after me, stop arming Israel. Louder, stop arming Israel. The following day at Labour Party HQ, I once again took this message to Starmer and I said to him, will you uphold the ICC arrest warrant and will you arrest Netanyahu if he sets foot on UK soil? And it's thanks to you and your protests and your voices and your resilience that he has been forced to accept the arrest warrant and uphold the ICC ruling. So my commitment to you is that while I have a seat at that table, I promise I will keep using it to hold Keir Starmer to account and to amplify the voice of every single Palestinian. But this struggle is not just going to be won by t-shirts. It's not just going to be won by t-shirts. It's not just going to be won by flags. It's responsibility to all of us to refuse to be silent and to continue to honor, keep turning out. Because we have a long way to go. Because when I call on Starmer to stop all arms sales in Israel, he continues to justify the remaining exit licenses. So we must be clear. There is no legal or moral justification for this government to continue forcing any arms, any fighting cars that are being used to kill Palestinian children to uphold the system of apartheid. There is no moral justification. So our demands are clear. We will keep protesting. We will keep organising. We will keep speaking out until all arms exports are banned, until Britain stops giving cover for Israel. And we will end this genocide, end the occupation, and we will see a free Palestine. Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! In our thousands, in our millions! In our thousands, in our millions! Solidarity. Make them like the genocide! Free, free! Free, free! Now our next speaker needs no introduction. You all know him well by now. These demonstrations couldn't happen without him. Please give a very, very warm welcome to the director of the Palestine Solidarity Campaign, Benjamin!
Thank you. Friends, thank you for coming out again once more, 150,000 strong. The very next day, we marked the 47th International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people. This was the day set up by the United Nations in 1977
and subject those it does not ethnically cleanse or kill to a life of subjugation under a system of apartheid. And right now, Keir Starmer maintains that complicity, even as the violence of apartheid descends in accordance with the logic of Zionism into the verge of full-blown genocide. And he maintains that complicity even as Israel extends its reservoir of barbarity, as it launches for the last 7 weeks in the north of Gaza a mass project of new ethnic cleansing, ordering every Palestinian to leave and seeking to kill those who refuse to do so. Some of you will have seen this week the report issued by Save the Children that revealed the largely unreported fact that about 130,000 children under the age of 10, 130,000 children